Good day, good people. I'm Dr. Johnny Pierce, but you could just call me Johnny, and this is the Actually Well podcast. I'm continuing the process of interviewing awesome fellas because it's Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, and I want us to shine. And as I did with the first, I'm sitting with somebody pretty special on the second. This is my man from U of M. We met there, been knowing each other for over almost 2 decades now.
Yeah.
Crazy.
As of this year.
20 years as of this year.
Yeah.
And I'm with
Ryan McBride. What's going on, bro?
Ryan McBride, not just any Ryan McBride of
Level Up in NYC.
Yes.
Level Up in NYC.
So Ryan and I met at a summer camps of champions. You may have heard about this from our interview with Rita Lewis, one of our colleagues at the place and also fellow alumni of the great University of Michigan. And Ryan got my attention because I was walking through our dorm. It was the night before the campers came in. And I walked by Ryan's door, and the man was sitting on his bed reading his Bible on a Saturday night. And I'm like, yo, I'd never seen a young man my age doing that exact thing. So I knew I had to get to know this guy, and it's been a true delight ever since, man. I'm so glad to call you friend. I'm so glad to have you in my life. But what do you do?
Appreciate it, man. Well, first off, thank you for having me on your podcast. Also excited to, just to be here and chop it up with you, and, glad to call you friend. And it is crazy that we met 20 years ago, man.
This year,
2006.
Yep.
A long time ago. But yeah, man, I'm currently building a media company here in New York City. It's called Level Up in NYC. Our website is levelupinnyc.com. And the focus of the platform is really to help people build their networks, increase their income, scale their impact. And so we do that in a number of different ways. We have a newsletter where we share the city's best events. We have a podcast. We just launched our event series. We've had about 4 different networking events. We have a members club, and then we have some other exciting things we're trying to build out. But the goal of it is just trying to help people build their social capital, land new clients, new job opportunities, whatever it is they need to level up, to get to that next level. So
now,
yes, sir.
The world has been exposed to Level Up because you've been systematically over time building it out. I remember when you first started talking to me about it. You was like, man, it'd be dope if I did this, I'd be doing that, I'd do this. Because Ryan is a networking genius. This man goes everywhere all the time, connects with people. I can't go places in public with Ryan because someone will recognize him. He also happened to be from the great city in the murder mitten called Saginaw. And you know everyone there and their grandparents and the descendants that have yet to come. If we are out and about somewhere, we've been out of the state of Michigan. We have been off the East Coast. We've been all over the place. And people from Saginaw will spot Ryan and he will spot them, and they will know everything about the 5 generations that came before them. I don't know how you do it. How do you do it? What's the networking like? Where does the genius come from?
Well, appreciate you complimenting me on that. I don't know if I'd call it genius. Honestly, I think I got a lot of that from my mom. So
okay.
She, my mother, Rose McBride, she's, the life of the party, never met a stranger. So even as a kid, when I was younger and I was, a little more shy, a little more bashful, we'd be out, at the grocery store or church or wherever, and everybody knew Rose, everybody knew my mom. And so she was, still to this day, she's a connector. She will meet people and introduce people. My mom has introduced people to each other that have gotten married. And she called it out. I remember one time we were in church, she called out like, oh, sister such and such would be so great with, Bill, this other guy. No. Yeah. So I think some of it comes from her. I think another part of it is just, I just like meeting interesting people who are doing dope things, people operating at a high level. So anytime I meet somebody interesting with an interesting story, I'm always looking to either, learn more about them or maybe connect them to somebody I know who can help them get to that next level. So I think it's a mixture of things, combination.
And see, that spirit is one of the reasons why I connected with you, because I heard that want and that desire to help people in some way or another. Like, you might not always know exactly what it is that a person needs, but you're willing to go find a resource or find out somebody who can. It reminds me a little bit of, I don't know if since you got Will Smith right here, Pursuit of Happiness. He said, I will figure it out, or I will find somebody that can figure it out. And you've had that spirit the entire time I've known you. And it's one of the reasons why I've always wanted to stay close to you. And the fact that we've been able to stay close over 20 years. I mean, we done moved from Michigan. I went out to Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, and then now I'm in Virginia. You done moved from here. Yeah, I forgot all about Chicago. Moved out to Chicago. You done moved from Michigan. You was in DC for a hot second.
Indeed.
And then you came up here and you've been loving it ever since. How long you been in Brooklyn?
I've been in New York now and Brooklyn because I've been here the whole time. It's about 8.5 years. It'll be 9 years in August.
Man, time flies.
Crazy.
Time
2017,
flies.
man.
Time flies.
Yeah.
Now, most people that I've talked to have been in and around wellness in some way that seem pretty direct or easy to connect with. I actually think what you do in terms of trying to help people get resources, level up, that's very much about mental health as well. And it might be something you want to throw into your next video that you do. But in all seriousness, when people have resources, their mental health tends to be better. And when they are connected to people, when you got a village, even if it's a networking village for a career purpose, it helps with somebody's mental health. Because like, say you lose a job. Well, if you got a good network, you're not all that fearful that, oh, this is going to be a terrible situation. You make a few calls, you send a few texts, you maybe get an email or two out. Next thing you know, you might have an interview. And it's just like that.
Very
or you've taken on that entrepreneurial spirit. It might be that catalyst to go ahead and get out there and start that business or start that newsletter. How did Level Up NYC start?
I think it was a combination of things. So I had been subscribed to a newsletter very similar to what I do now when I lived in DC. So it was a newsletter at the time called I Don't Do Clubs. I think it was idon'tdoclubs.com. And the young woman who started it, she would share, all the parties, the networking events, the concerts, the comedy shows, the free activations. And so that was a big reason I got so connected in DC as soon as I moved there.
Right.
So within, a week or two of moving there, subscribing to that newsletter, I knew about all the moves and, the grits and biscuits or this and that happening. And so I found myself texting my friends or texting people and letting them know, like, hey, I'm going to this, I'm going to that. And people would ask me, like, you just moved here. How do you know about, how you know about XYZ? But
networking genius.
Well, that I think, I just wanted to tap into my resources. So I follow people on Instagram. I follow, newsletters. I follow things on Twitter. So I found out about things. But when I moved to New York, I did the same thing. I was following her newsletter, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. But I noticed that she kind of stepped back from sending out the newsletter as much. And so I didn't really have that as much as a resource. But I found other platforms and resources in New York. But again, I found myself texting all my people and telling them, hey, I'm going to this event. I'm going to this conference. But one day I was like, you know what? I need to just consolidate this, like put this in one place, make it easier for me to send people things. And so I found around that time, I found this other platform on Instagram called the Black Link Up that was sending out, events and things, or they had things on Instagram. But they, shared a lot of parties and a lot of festivals and concerts and stuff like that. But I didn't see from some of the different event discovery platforms I was looking at, I didn't see some of the conferences and the summits and the galas that I wanted to go to. And so, to make a long story short, I started sharing a list of anywhere from 15 to 20 events on Instagram. And then probably about 8 months later, I started the newsletter because I knew I needed a more direct channel to get to my audience. So yeah, that's kind of how it started out.
How it started out. Now you just started to dabble in the podcast game, which I mean, I remember when you first threw that out there as an idea, and I'm just like, hey man, I am very fortunate. I've been able to hear the ideas before they've been brought to reality. And like that was one of the things that we actually would do during the summer job. Like when we didn't have campers, we'd kick it in each other's room, maybe grab a pizza or grab a milkshake from Pizza Bob's.
Right.
And then we would just think and talk about stuff and like what we could do, why we would do this, write books, different stuff like that. And hearing you talk about like, hey man, I want to do this newsletter. I'm like, all right, man, let's see how it goes. And you talking through ideas that you had. And then when you added the podcast element, which I think that, man, you're probably about to go through the moon because of that. Because you have already brought together some very interesting folks and they've had very dynamic conversations live in front of an audience at an event that you organized in the first place. So he's not only a networking genius, but he also organizes events. He also lets everybody know about the other events that are going on. And now you are hosting a podcast. Where do you see that going? And how did you kind of put all that together?
Yeah, man. So I think, like you said, we had discussed podcasting and talked about things, and I follow a lot of great podcasts that I like. And so I think it was a combination of things. So I think on the one side, I wanted to build a media company. And so I've been following all these media companies like Revolt, Complex, Boardroom, Afrotech, Blavity. And one common thread across most media companies is that they all produce some kind of video content, right? So if you want to have a media company, you kind of need to be able to engage with your audience in different ways. And so I think with Level Up, initially it started out as me sharing the best events in the city to help people level up. But over time, I realized, like, if you really want to help people get to that next level, like, there has to be more than just sharing events. You know what I mean? So I have a broad range of interests in other things. So, and I know a lot of really interesting people. And so I was thinking to myself, it'd be great to get some of the people either in my community or in New York City who are operating at a high level on a podcast so they can help people level up through content and not just sharing the events. But one other reason I want to start a podcast, and this is kind of going towards something I haven't done yet. I really want I want Level Up in NYC to be both media company and sort of education company, right?
Okay.
So eventually I see myself having some kind of maybe group coaching course, maybe a mastermind for people that want to get on that fast track and accelerate. And so I knew that if I wanted to eventually have some kind of program like that, people have to see us sharing content like that.
Fair.
Right. So if you are looking to grow your networking skills or increase your income and learn from people, one of the best ways to share information and resources is through a podcast, right?
Fair.
And so one thing I've noticed about podcasts is that if you're selling something or you're trying to get people to join a membership or you're trying to get people to subscribe to you, they have to first start to know, like, and trust you. And podcasts are one of the best ways to do that because people get to hear your voice. They get the long form content on YouTube. They get the clips. They start seeing who you are, what you stand for, what your beliefs are. And they're much more likely to say, okay, I want to subscribe or I want to join or I want to get in that coaching program if they have built some kind of rapport with you. You know what I'm saying? So podcasting is a great way to do that. But it's also a great way to streamline your content creation, right? Because up until now, I had been doing Instagram posts and reels and things about events. But a lot of the stuff I was sharing on Instagram wasn't from my own events. You know, it was like, there's this block party going on, or I went to this conference or summit or gala. But by producing a podcast, I could then start sharing a lot of my own content.
Right.
And not necessarily putting you on to, I mean, I still want to put you onto the dopest events in the city, but I also want to like educate you, help you level up via content that I'm producing. Right. And so podcasting, it just does a bunch of things at once. It builds that know, like, and trust. It gives you content creation for YouTube, short clips. I don't have to think about it, you know, what I'm going to post as much because if I got a long form YouTube episode, I can get 10, 15 clips from that. So my content is created across Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, just from one conversation. I got 5, 10, 15 clips. So it just does a bunch of different things for you all at the same time. And it builds authority too.
Fair. And something that I've been thinking about with this podcast in particular is it can actually expand that network. Because there are people that I talked to. Last month, I was doing interviews with ladies for Women's Mental Health Month. And I definitely didn't know all 16 women that I sat with. Some of those ladies I have been introduced to by one woman that I might have interviewed over here. She's like, oh, well, maybe you need to interview this person here. You need to interview this person here. So then my network expanded. And then by interviewing those folks, I got exposed to their network. And now conversations are being had about maybe future interviews and things like that. Then there's the people who see you doing the work that you're doing. It's like, hey, I want to get in on that too. Not in a, mooching kind of way, but more in a, hey, I like the direction that you're going with your content. I feel like it is aligned with mine. Let's collaborate. Right. So yeah, I can see how the podcast wouldn't just be a matter of like, sharing information in the here and now. It gives you that content that people can go to at any time in the future. And it gives you opportunities to draw others in and say, hey, I want to be a part of that.
Exactly. And to your point, you make a really good point. It's really networking at scale. Right. Like you said, because you're meeting other guests, other potential guests, they're connecting you to people. The people that are watching you on YouTube or your social media are now plugged into your network virtually. And then one thing I like about it too is that not only is it networking at scale, but right now, for example, if you wanted to individually go into a room and shake 300 hands, that's going to take a long time.
It's going to take a long time.
How you doing? My name is Johnny. I do this. I do that. Hey, how you doing? Here's my business card. But with one podcast episode, you build a big enough following, 7,000, 8,000, 10,000 people might watch that one episode. And now they know Johnny. They know what Johnny does. They trust Johnny a little bit more. They might go to Johnny's website. Oh, let me follow him on Instagram. He got a lot of good stuff to say. So I can have almost 10,000 conversations with one episode if I build my following enough, which it would take a whole lot of time to have 10,000 individual conversations.
Indeed, it would. As a matter of fact, even though I wouldn't want to try to count to see how many conversations I've had via therapy sessions,
Right.
I would imagine it might be in that ballpark. And it's taken 17 years to build that career.
Long time.
Yeah.
Long time.
Now, that said, bringing it back to mental health, I've asked everybody to just come on to share anything if they feel comfortable about their own mental health journey. So Ryan, tell us a little bit about yours.
Yeah, man, it's an ongoing journey. I think we all have to be intentional, about maintaining our mental health, seeking out those resources and people that we need to keep our mental health where it needs to be. I think for me, I've had experiences all throughout my life where I've either had support from people in maintaining my mental health, or I've helped support people in different ways or whatever. I think probably the earliest experience I can recall when it came to like mental health is I remember when I was little, actually, when I was really, really young, my mom took me to be evaluated or something like that.
Really?
I think it was like a child psychologist, because I had this, when I was eating chicken or when I was eating food and it was greasy, I would like not want it to touch my hands or something. And so I remember, she told me this later. She was like, yeah, I didn't know if there was something going on with you, because
like a sensory issue.
Yeah, a sensory issue, because I would pick stuff up like this, or I didn't want to touch my fingers, so I would like hold food in a weird way. And she was like, okay, I need to get them checked out. So of course I went through the evaluation and played with some toys, and they did a test, and they were like, oh, he's fine, he just doesn't like grease on his hands or whatever. So
mama, like, you could have told us that from the start. I got to keep bringing it back.
So that's one, I guess, memory I recall related to checking in on my mental health, just kind of seeing where I was with that. I think another instance was just going to University of Michigan. Like
Fair.
It was a big adjustment. You know what I mean?
Boy, Michigan was definitely an interesting time, especially when we went there.
When we went there, it was a very rewarding environment, but very challenging environment to a certain extent. But I remember, I don't know what semester it was. I don't know if I was a freshman, sophomore, or something. But I was just stressed out. I was just pulling all-nighters. I was studying. I was doing different things, and I don't know who I talked to or who I even engaged with. They were like, yeah, you might want to check out the
CAPS program.
Yeah, CAPS, Counseling Psychological Services. And at first I'm like, I don't know if I need all that. I'm just a little stressed, a little anxious. It's a lot of work, lot going on. But I do recall going, and I talked to somebody. I had a counselor that was actually really dope, really cool. Met with him a few times, and we talked through some things, and it helped me give language to some stuff that I hadn't really expressed before. Like he had terms for things like anxiety and just thinking about different things out loud.
Made it tangible.
Yeah, it made it tangible. So I definitely took advantage of that. Like had some really good counseling in college, and then since college I've done therapy. Once I had this was maybe 6 years ago. I want to retry it again, but I had a therapist. Went to about 6 or 7 sessions and had a good conversation. Overall, it was, just kind of helping me process things and think about things that was covered by my insurance. So I was like, why not take advantage of it?
Makes sense.
So yeah, therapy definitely, I found it to be helpful. I think it's something I could see myself doing again in the future. At a certain point, I'm still kind of looking for the right fit in terms of somebody to work with. But yeah, that's a little bit about my mental health journey.
Dig it. Well, hey, one, thanks for sharing that, man. Because again, whenever I ask somebody, I don't know exactly where they're going to go, and I also don't want to guide them because it's not my story to tell.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned the CAPS program. While I didn't actually utilize it as a person who was seeking services while I was at U of M, one of my first mentors is somebody I connected with who was working out of the CAPS program, a guy named Dwayne Campbell. Shout out. But and speaking of networking, he connected me to a guy named Dr. Deco Johnson, who was at Michigan State, funny enough. Okay. And Dr. Johnson called me every Friday of my sophomore year of college.
Word. Okay.
This man was at a whole nother campus doing the different work he was doing as a professor and also as a provider. And he still made time every Friday morning to call me on my room phone over when I was in West Quad. And I appreciate you, Dr. Johnson. Like, I appreciate you, Dwayne. I appreciate all the mentors that I connected with at U of M. That's where I first started having mentors. RIP, Dr. Ralph Story. We miss you. I hope your family's okay. But like, these happened to be Black men, happened to have awareness about mental health, and they were investing in mine. And I think it probably made me more susceptible to being aware of who are the other guys who I need to keep my eye out for, who are the quality folks to get tapped into. And like I said, man, I will never forget that day because I was walking down the hall and I walked past your door and I walked back. And my man had do-rag on, Bible open, and he was just sitting there. It was like no music playing, no TV on, like you were in it. And I'm just like, word. So mentioning your faith, like, is there anything from an identity standpoint, something about you that you feel has helped shape you into who you are, including you mentioned your mom. I always ask you about your mom and how she's doing. But yeah, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you would necessarily highlight?
Anything from my identity that shapes who I am?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like, all the different parts of my identity really shape me. Some are more salient at different times, but just being a Black man growing up in a place like Saginaw, Michigan, you know what I mean? I think that shapes me a lot just because I had a lot of great mentors. I saw a lot of things I didn't want to emulate. Saw a lot of people that I was inspired by. So yeah, being a Black man, I think shapes my identity in a lot of different ways, known and, that are salient and that you don't even think about sometimes. And then of course, I do identify as a Christian. So I think my faith informs a lot, about just how I engage with the world and just the people that I have been able to be around and things like that. But yeah, identity as a son, my mom is getting older. So I think as time goes on, you think about these identities in different ways as you go through different periods of transition. I'm an uncle, so I have my two nieces, two nephews that definitely make me, think about things from a whole different perspective when I'm around them and stuff like that. So yeah, I think all of my identities are always kind of dynamically shaping, how I show up and how I engage, with the world.
Dig it. And given, the fact that we aren't just a thing, I always ask that question because I like for people to understand, like, we are all going to be looked at. Like, people are going to look upon us and they're going to see us in whatever light that they do. They may not know where we come from or what we do for a living or whatever the case may be, but we are actually responsible for making time to look into who we are and taking some agency and like creating who we want to be. Because there's no way that based on where I was born, when I was born, and the circumstances I were born into, that I should be sitting here with this situation that I got now. I had to decide at a certain point to level up. I had to decide at a certain point that I had to get out of Detroit, that I had to get degrees, that I had to get licensure. I had to move around so that I could find a place where I could put some roots down and actually grow and bloom. And I think that that's one thing that we've had in common throughout our time of knowing each other is there's always been that mindset around that and that willingness to like do something to get the outcome that we want. And I think we've connected over that in many different ways over the years. And I'm so excited about where your podcast is going to go. I've been loving the stuff that you're doing with your process in terms of the networking and how Level Up is truly leveling up. I've gotten to see it over the time that you've been working on it. And I'm just curious to see where it goes. I mean, as we were walking over here to do the interview, he's like, man, you just gave me an idea. And now we can look forward to maybe having some podcasts on the rooftop. But just like that, like it just comes together. And we've always kind of had that dynamic where just being in the same place at the same time, talking in general, suddenly now things get created. And I only got so many people that I truly call friend. Like I know a lot of people. I wouldn't say my networking game is as strong as yours. My LinkedIn might look good, but I promise you it's just not as strong as yours. But the people that I call friend, it's not something I say lightly. You've helped me with my mental health. You've been a key aspect to it. Us being able to stay in touch, you wanting to be my friend, given what I think of you as a quality guy, quality person, quality Christian, like you wanting to be in touch with me and keep up with me, you spending time around my children, like these things improve my mental health, and I truly appreciate you, man.
Likewise, I can say the same thing, man. I think, having that support, somebody who you can relate to and, bounce ideas off of, talk to, kick it when you're up, when you're down.
When you're up and you're down, yeah, man.
Going on, it definitely, impacts your mental health and in ways sometimes I think you don't even realize, until maybe after the fact or once you actually sit down and think about it,
Most definitely. Glad to have you in the village. So if people want to keep up with you, if they want to keep up with Level Up, where do they do it?
So definitely subscribe to our newsletter. It's www.levelupinnyc.com. So that's level up and then NYC.com.
In the description, link in the description.
Indeed. But yeah, they can subscribe to the newsletter. They can follow us on Instagram. It's also, at Level Up in NYC. And then I'm at Ryan P. McBride on Instagram as well. So.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, you heard it from this man first and foremost. If you want to level up, you in NYC, you know what to do. I have been able to level up over the last 20 years by having this guy in my life. Thank you so much for that.
Likewise.
And thank you for continuing to watch the podcast. As we've transitioned into Men's Mental Health Month, I've been releasing interviews over the last 2 months now, and this month is going to be the fellas. You got to see one with me and my ace Boone Coon, and I would say, this is my ace of clubs right here, but y'all ain't going to get the joke. He do, though. He gets the joke. But yes, please continue to watch. I would love for you to like. I would like for you to click subscribe. Please subscribe. It's always nice to get new subscribers. Hit the notification bell to let you know that the next one's coming out. And if you have some thoughts about people who are important to you, I'd love to see that in the comments section. If you want more information and you happen to be in New York or coming through New York, maybe put some comments down there about that too, because hey, Ryan's told you how to find them on social media. I might get you the inside scoop to those events. In any event, thank you for watching Actually Well, and be well.